And how are you? This is Janet Reynolds, and welcome to Insight with Blue Feather. I am your psychic medium. I'm also an ordained minister, and Blue Feather is my guide, and he's the one that gives me all of the information. Ordained minister, and Blue Feather is my guide, and he's the one that gives me all of the information. Ordained minister, and Blue Feather is my guide. Do you hear that?
I do.
Hey, Janet. It looks like you maybe have your Facebook on. Facebook, and then it's feeding back.
No, I don't have Facebook on.
Hey, Janet. Or somebody's got Facebook on and it's feeding back. Facebook, and then it's feeding back.
No,
Does anybody have Facebook on? Janet. Or somebody's got Facebook on and it's feeding back. How about now? Anybody have anything on?
I don't have anything on.
Okay, maybe it went away. Maybe it was a backup. So you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And sorry about the interruption. It's the Insight with Blue Feather show. And you are listening to host Reverend Janet M. Reynolds. She's a psychic and medium with bluefeather.net. Blue Feather is her guide, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right on into our guest. And our guest here tonight, let's bring her information forward here real quick for you guys. Do we have it? We've got like all these things that we can talk about here. Here we go. We have Dr. Heather Clark here with us tonight with vibrantagain.com. So Janet, I'm going to go ahead and drop down. I'll let you go ahead and continue on. And if you guys need me, I'm here for you. Okay?
Thank you. Hopefully I won't vibrate again. I don't think so. Dr. Heather, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing great. I really, really am. I hope you had a good day. I bet you had a busy one, did you?
It was quite a busy day, yes, but a lovely day, yes.
Oh, okay. So then let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Heather Clark here. She has developed, wow, she is the founder. She is the founder and the functional medicine specialist of Vibrant. Is that correct? Did I say that correctly?
Vibrant Again. It's the name of the company is Vibrant Again because that's what I help people become.
Oh, there you go. Because of the way that it's here on the screen, I'm sorry. So, but Heather is from Kansas City, Missouri. So Heather, thank you for being here. Heather has developed a specialized adrenal-based program that treats the root of chronic health issues and helps restore balance within the body. And I'm thinking in today's world with everything that is going on, that balance within the body is quite needed. Is that correct?
Balance in the body, outside of the body, with your environment, yes.
I'm sure. I'm sure even I could use that, especially after today. But we won't get into that. I would like to say to you, how did you go? You were a pharmacist, is that correct?
I was a pharmacist for many years, absolutely.
Okay, so how did you go from pharmacist to co-creating life-changing transformations and helping people become unshakable?
Well, I burned out is what happened. I'd been a pharmacist for many years, and it was a mid-career burnout, like happens to a lot of people. And it took a long time to figure out what was going on. But when I did, I discovered, oh, this is adrenal fatigue, which is a different way of saying burnout. That's burnout in the body. Mm-hmm. And as I recovered, it occurred to me I could help other people recover. And I was getting great results. So I built my business. And then what I later discovered is that I have a real aptitude for helping people transform their lives. And the big transformation is helping them become unshakable.
How did you feel before you found out what your problem was?
Well, it's terrifying, really.
Burnout.
I went from, I only ran 3 miles today to I would have to rest after taking a shower. Mm-hmm. I was sleeping through my lunch break. There was all sorts of things that just weren't normal for me. Mm-hmm. And I went to several different physicians because if anybody had told me that story, I would have been like, go to the doctor. So I went, and lots of increasingly expensive and exotic tests. And they're like, I don't know, you seem fine. Looks like you're fine. And I'm like, I am not fine. I assure you, I am not fine. So it was finally, I found a physician that practiced functional medicine, which is an approach that gets to the root cause. And she's like, oh, you've got adrenal fatigue. I'm like, okay, well, what do we do about that? But then she handed me a 12-page handout of suggestions. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. This is totally overwhelming. And that's normally like when I'm well, give me a 12-page handout. Like I'll pull the highlights out. That's what I can do. But I was in a place that was terrifying. And I was exhausted, not just the tired, but like exhausted on every level.
I know we're talking about the adrenals, but does thyroid have anything to do with that also?
Yeah, all of those systems are connected. And in fact, most of the time, if there's a thyroid issue, there's usually what's considered an adrenal issue before that. And these are, it's not, you can't like split out the systems like traditional medicine tends to. And when I say it's an adrenal issue, what I typically mean is it's a stress issue. So it's an ongoing stress, typically over years. And stress is accumulated trauma. It's accumulated all of these other issues. And that definitely impacts thyroid. So the training that I have is for the adrenal system, for thyroid, for detox, and for GI.
Oh, okay. And then does that also have anything to do with anxiety?
Well, of course it does. So one of the issue with burnout and adrenal fatigue is that whole system kind of goes haywire. So anxiety is a different way of saying it's a low-level fear. And the stress response system is also the trauma system. That's also the fear system. So they're all related. So when somebody has adrenal fatigue, that tends to bring low, middle, or high level anxiety. It can often create depression, all sorts of mood changes, very rarely mania, but a lot of times it's going to be exhaustion. And really what they are is they're physical symptoms, but it's physical symptoms of really more of a spiritual problem. And that is your soul went and evolved, but your identity did not. So it creates a large gap between who you really are and how you're being.
Okay, so in today's world and where we are with the year 2020, I'm sure that there is an extreme amount of people that are having these kind of symptoms and problems, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that all of the issues people were having anyway are intensified and magnified. Because all of the systems that we've had in place in our own life, whether it's your personal life, your work life, your dating life, your any life, any issue you had with that is really magnified. All of our coping skills have been changed. So think you used to be able, oh, I can do this and I'll be fine. Well, it's really exposed the cracks in the system. So it's problems that were there anyway, but now it's really hard to ignore them. And, you know, why not use this as an opportunity? Why not use this as a growth for, what if this is happening for me? You don't have to be like, well, this is happening for me, that spiritual bypass, it's all fine. This is more, okay, if it is happening for me, what's in it for me? And a lot of times it's a call to just restructure your life. Like, why am I putting up with this? Why am I choosing this? Like for me, why did I choose this career? Oh, it doesn't really work for me. Okay. Then go through all those identity shifts of switching to something else.
I do believe that sometimes with all the changes that are going on for all and many, is to make them make changes. I do really believe that. I do.
Yeah, it's an invitation. Like, what if that's an invitation? What's an invitation to? are you being called to step into a larger space? Are you being called to step more into who you truly are? And then taking that journey to discover.
Okay. And I'm sure that I'm going to use the word temper or anger. Is that also something that can also appear while we're going through many changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime that there's stress, that's going to magnify lots of things for us. And it's going to magnify things emotionally as well. Anger is actually very healthy. People are afraid of it. They don't want it. Oh, I'm so angry. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you be angry? When you look at what you're dealing with, when you look at the systems you're in, it's very healthy. What isn't healthy is to stifle it, make it wrong. Oh, well, I just got no, like process it, take the action, because it's usually a signal that there's been a boundary that's crossed. So then you get to identify, well, what's that boundary? And then do that profound self-care to reestablish what that boundary is.
Right. And I believe also working out, doing workout, going to the gym.
Well, now that can be, but if you're talking about adrenal fatigue, that can actually be a problem, because a lot of times working out, which is a great stress reliever, when you're doing the correct amount of exercise for you and the correct type, it's fantastic. But once you run into adrenal fatigue, that is an additional stress that sometimes actually makes things worse. And a lot of times people accelerate from stage 1 to stage 2 by over exercising instead of dealing with, why does the stress keep happening? They're just managing it. So by the time you get to stage 2 adrenal fatigue, working out can actually make it worse. And stage 3 is, if you work out, then it takes a day or two to recover, whereas it used to be an hour or two. So yes, and depending on where you're at, it may not be a fit anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Let me say that, because I'm a person that works out. And then once I finish working out, I feel better. Because I let go of a lot of, we'll say stress. I could say anger too.
Well, yeah, and it's a way of, and if you're talking about anger, exercise can be an excellent way to help process it out of your body. Something to be aware of. I'm not suggesting this is you, but sometimes people that come to me in burnout tend to be like, well, I'm working out to process my anger. Like, great. And why is there so much anger? What's the underlying issue there? What is there to process? So it's a great technique, but it's just like anything. You don't want to take a hammer to everything.
Right.
You need a screwdriver. Sometimes you need a saw. Sometimes you just need different tools.
Right. And that makes sense to me too, So is it really possible to eliminate stress?
Yes and no. So stress, put very simply, it's a challenge to normal balance. More precisely, it is a perceived challenge to normal balance. So anything can be a stress. So sometimes it's as simple as shifting your perception. Sometimes it's, okay, well, what are my stresses here? What's my total stress load? And so when you make the list, a lot of people, it's like job, relationship, presence or absence of relationship, it's upcoming vacation, it's whatever. But then it also gets down to, what are you putting up with? What are you tolerating? What are the little things that you wish were slightly different? So the way to eliminate stress is to not just work on that list, but first discern what's actually important to you. Like, for some people, it's truly important to look good. Okay, great. How do you want to look good? How do you want to show up? And for other people, they realize, oh, I'm putting a lot of effort into this and it's really hard for me, and I don't actually care about it. Like, it's done. There's a lot of stress there. So that's why I talk about being unshakable, because that's not so much, I've completely eliminated stress from my life, I live alone on a mountaintop. No, being unshakable is, I am in the world and things come at me and I just simply handle them. I'm responding, not reacting.
Mm-hmm.
I've built the resilience, and I'm able to kind of pick and choose, like, I'm not going to worry about this. I didn't want to worry about this other thing, but here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let me deal with it. And when I'm coming from a place of what's actually important and what I truly value,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it a lot easier to process. And now I'm centered in my own life instead of living into obligation. I'm not living into guilt or shame, unnecessary pressure. Like that's your problem, person. Like, and just letting people take responsibility for what's theirs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you feel that sometimes just where you say no expectations or staying in the moment can help things better with people who do have a lot of stress?
It can. And a lot of times, so if people have a lot of stress. First, I would encourage you to be very gentle with yourself, because little things will happen and it will, quote, set you off. Like, wow, that really shouldn't have been a big deal. But like when you hear the word should, shouldn't, ought to, like those are obligations. So you're obligating yourself to put up with more crap. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
So
hear
just
you.
acknowledge, oh, well, this thing that most days would be tiny has been really stressful for me.
Mhm.
Okay. First, just let that be okay. And then second, look at, well, okay, what's going on here? What's snowballing? What's in the background? And for a lot of people right now, there's a background worried about COVID, whether or not it's a conscious or unconscious. Like, let's
Right.
acknowledge that. That's part of your stress load now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also about, okay, what do I choose to do about that today? Like, okay, so I'm going to wear my mask when I'm out. Okay, great. That's kind of what you can do. That is one thing to do. And then just letting that be okay. I cannot solve this. And if you find yourself worrying and ruminating, then you might have something else going on as well. But it's more, okay, what can I do? What's the action? Take that action and release it and move on.
Right. I like the release it and move on.
Yeah.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. Just let go and keep going. But I do believe that the COVID, of course, 19, I do believe that it really, it's not good right now. And a lot of people are having a hard time with it.
Yeah, a lot of people are having a hard time with this. And I just, my heart goes out, and but it's understandable. This is a hard time right now.
Yes, it is.
And again, if you're accepting the invitation, well, what if it's happening for you? Not from a place where I want you to get triggered, but from a place of, okay, it's an opportunity for introspection. Is that maybe why this is happening? Is it an opportunity to get crystal clear on what's truly important to you? Maybe. Is it an opportunity to say, see, I can too work from home? Is it an opportunity to
Yes.
get real clear about, like, if you're looking for a relationship, like, okay, well, what am I willing to do here? What's worth leaving the house for? Like, and really getting your priorities clear.
Mm-hmm. And that's really can be a hard part. It really can. So,
But that's doing most of the work for you. When you're real clear, oh, this is important to me, this is not. So when things that are not important, you're just like, no. No is a complete sentence.
yes.
No explanation is required. Should you choose to offer one, that's fine, but you don't have to. And that can set you free.
Well, it can also be a mindset, couldn't you say?
How do you mean?
A mindset, in other words, if you were to tell yourself that everything is okay, just follow the rules and everything will be okay. It's a mindset. It's rather than thinking about all of the bad of it, it would be better to think of all of the good.
That can get dangerous. And here's how that can get dangerous. That can actually add to the stress, because in some ways now you're bypassing and gaslighting yourself. Like, I'm going to ignore the bad and only focus on the good. Like, not always. I never invite people to ignore the bad. I invite them to examine it, look at it, and then discern what in there, is there something you can do about it? Is there an action to take? And often it's no. Okay, great. So let's just acknowledge that what action can I take? Well, I can breathe. I can be present. Fabulous. And then without ignoring it, just like, okay, that, and what I prefer is what I perceive as the good,
Mhm.
and then calling it into you.
Mhm. Okay, I understand that. So let me ask you, please, what does it mean to be more of yourself? And how could people tell if they are or they aren't?
So what it means to be more of yourself, because a lot of times people hear, just be yourself. And there's a lot of us that are like, what does that even mean?
Mhm.
What that often means is it's when you're feeling really lit up, when you're feeling like you're doing what you're called to do, even if that's sitting on your couch and reading a book.
Mhm.
If you're feeling light, if you're feeling energized, if you're just excited to do something, those are clues that that's in the direction of who you truly are. Because
Mhm.
we're all wired a particular way.
Mhm.
And then when we can really live into that, it's better. Like, for instance, one of the ways that I'm wired is I am a natural born improver.
Mhm.
And what I also know is I can perform really well in systems and situations that require improvement. But I don't do it when it's like when things are too bad. If it's too
Mhm.
disorganized, I can't play. But if I'm in a place where I'm able to help improve, it's very aligned with who I am. It lights me up and I feel fantastic.
Great. That's good.
So that's a way, and it's how you feel. Does it feel heavy? Does it feel light? But if it feels light or open or expansive, that's in the direction of who you truly are. And if it's heavy or sluggish or dark, then that's away from you. So it's
Yes.
really handy
And
discernment.
in the beginning, when you were talking, Heather, do you have people write a list? What was it that you were saying about a list?
Sometimes, depending on where people are at in their journey, often I will have or ask them, invite them to write a stress inventory where you're making a list of all of your stresses, big stresses, little stresses, stuff that you would never tell another person that you're stressed about.
Mhm.
Like something silly like I'm not 100% happy with my toothpaste. Something like what? All the way up to I cannot show up to this job. I just can't anymore. But make the list. And
Mhm.
what happens is usually one of two things. One, people look at this giant list and they're like, well, of course I'm burned out. Obviously, that's a natural conclusion.
Mhm.
And another thing that happens is, oh, well, this isn't actually that bad. All of this is manageable. And it's almost always in one of two camps. And it's all manageable.
Mhm.
But it depends on what's truly important to you. And that's something that it's easier to do in communication with someone to discern what's really important to them
Mhm.
because people think one thing's important, but another thing actually is. Like someone who was sharing, it was a fellow coach, and she was talking about how one of her clients was having trouble making time to spend with his family because that was a value of his. And I'm like, that is not a value of his. If it was a value of his, he would already be doing that. It's like, it doesn't mean he doesn't love his family. It just means that he had other values that were taking priority. Values are a lived experience. So it's not what you think, it's like what's actually showing up in your life. And then moving through it and like not judging it as bad or wrong.
Oh, okay. All right. How does getting off the drama triangle help you get what you want?
Because you're operating from a place of power. So, for the listeners that don't know, what the drama triangle is, that Dr. Stephen Cartman came up with this idea in 1968. So, it's not brand new, but it's such a handy tool, such a handy lens. So, if you imagine a triangle that's with the flat part on top, the point at the bottom, one point is the hero or rescuer, the other point is the villain, and then the bottom point is the victim. So, we're playing one of those roles on the drama triangle all at
Mhm.
the same time, and most of the time it's from victim
Mhm.
or rushing in, "Oh, let me fix this for you. I'm the hero," or making someone else wrong. "Oh, they're just a jerk," because putting them on the drama triangle as the villain. But when
Mhm.
you flip that into, I call it the freedom triangle, where you really realize, "Oh my goodness, I am the powerful creator of my own experience. And I don't need a hero and I don't need a rescuer, but I do require support." Like, and seeing seeing, oh, this isn't a villain. This is a teacher. This is a shadow. This is a part of me that I haven't fully integrated, and using that as an opportunity. And when you do that, you're coming from that powerful place, and now you can manifest what you want more easily.
Mm-hmm. I really believe it's very important to have a good support system around.
Absolutely.
I really do. If it wasn't for my friends, sometimes I don't know, because especially in today's world with everything once more being the way, that it is. What does it mean to be unshakable?
Well, what it means to be unshakable is you're able to respond, not react.
Heather, can you excuse me? We got to do a break for right now. Okay, so give me a few seconds and we'll take a break.
Great.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Okay, there you go. I'm going to ask you the question again, just so that we can be right on track again.
Great.
Hopefully, right on track. Okay, what does it mean to be unshakable?
So imagine a situation where you felt very calm, very powerful, very capable, and very confident, no matter what. That is the experience of being unshakable. It's understanding, okay, well, stresses are going to happen, but they don't have to knock you over. You can simply deal with them and move on. You've gotten off the drama triangle. You're clear about what's important to you. You're like, I'm a yes on this. I'm a yes on this. I'm a no on that. I'm done. And it saved you a lot of time. And actually, it's really coming from a place of love and kindness, but not coming from a place of being nice. It's like you're not mean, but you're not nice. It's kind, because this is important. That isn't important. So a lot of us that are on this path of being unshakable, I don't want to take away from people's experience, especially with COVID. This is a very stressful time. But for people who are doing and have done quite a bit of inner work, a lot of us are like, well, it's stressful, but it's like my life isn't falling apart. And again, not to make people wrong if that's their experience. I get it. I completely get it. And perhaps this is your call. Many of us have received the invitation in the past to redo our lives, like I did when I got burned out. And it's really redoing your life so that you're unshakable no matter what. Like, okay. And that really helps you shift out of stress, stop going in circles, and then get to what you want everywhere in your life, your body, your business, or your career.
I believe it's quite a bit of a challenge to be unshakable. Am I correct in saying that?
You're not incorrect, but I don't agree. When we're living in a culture that glorifies the drama triangle, when we're living in a culture that uses stress and pressure as a badge of honor, and we're living in a culture where go, 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 go is honored. And when people struggle, that's honored. So we shift into a life of, I don't know, it's like struggle is not required. There's no virtue in struggle. When you get off the merry-go-round, you're like, great, I'm glad that you're very happy. Congratulations on your award. Good job. It's like, I don't want to take away from what they're doing, but I don't want to be on what for me is a hamster wheel. For them, it brings them joy and it's aligned with who they are. Hooray. For me, it's a hamster wheel. I'm out.
There you go.
So it gets real easy, real quick. But there is a process of deconditioning. Like, oh, where have I been told this? And I took that on as true, but that's not actually true for me. So it's a process of unpicking, which can go differently for different people.
Okay. All right. So how does being unshakable once more, and you've probably said it, but maybe just tell me again once more, how can it help us deal with what is happening in the world and in our lives?
So it's easier to answer that if you imagine yourself as completely shakeable. So if you're shakeable, You're on a foundation that shifts and changes all the time. There's nothing that you can hang your hat on. Nothing's the same. And you're really, a lot of people experience it as at the mercy of the outside world.
Mhm.
And, oh, this happened and that happened. And, oh, woe is me. When you're unshakable, you're on a solid foundation.
Mhm.
You're anchored inside yourself. So you're able to rebalance. Things happen. And instead of, oh, woe is me, it's like, oh, that sucks. Okay. How do I want to respond to this? How do I want to show up? Okay, well, if courage is one of my values, all right, I
Mhm.
want to show up courageously. Okay, and then you show up courageously. It's a different way of saying being a leader in your own
Mhm.
life.
Right. It's
Um,
also, couldn't we say, you really would have to stay really calm through the day.
You don't have to stay calm, but you tend to be very calm through the day. Like
Yeah.
things happen, you're like, okay, people are
Mhm.
melting down around you. Like I remember that working in the hospital pharmacy. Phones are ringing off the hook and we got people crashing in ICU and orders are coming in and then I would come in and everything would calm down because all we do, like, I can't put in 8 orders at a time. I can put one at a time right after another,
Mhm.
quickly and efficiently. That's all I can do. So I'm just going to show up and do that. Like you just get real clear on what does it take to get through this. And then everybody gets taken care of in the priority order. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like that with life. All right, well, what's the focus here? And then the trouble that a lot of people have, especially right after they've recovered from burnout,
Mhm.
all of a sudden their life is going well, and then they have an upper limit problem. They're just like, I feel great. Because you know how with the lower limit problem, when things get bad enough, you're not gonna put up with it anymore. You're just done.
Mhm.
But it goes the other way too. When things get really good,
Mhm.
sometimes it can get really intolerable. So I work with people to help them raise that upper limit because they're like, well, suddenly I don't have a real problem in my life. So without that discernment, without the awareness, they tend to manufacture a real problem in their life, which then pulls them off of being unshakable instead of just being like, great, there's no problem. It's fantastic.
Mhm. Okay. I have to think about that one. I
Yeah.
really do. But that's good. It's I believe a lot in my teaching of staying in the moment.
Mhm.
And the other thing is I try to balance I don't try, I do it. I balance my chakras out every day. I have a certain routine that I do to balance them out to get me through the day so that I can stay unshakable.
I love it. And here's what I love about that. So many things. So when you balance your chakras, another way of framing that is you are taking time every day to take care of you.
Mhm.
You put yourself ruthlessly and relentlessly first by balancing your energy.
Mhm.
And as a result, it allows you to remain unshakable.
Mhm.
I love the staying in the present moment, which is much easier if you've processed and digested your past.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
Like, and you don't get pulled off. And that's great. That really helps because now you're not dragging around all this baggage. So
Mhm.
just think of the last time you were at the airport and you saw somebody walking along. They're carrying 2 bags, they've got 2 more hanging from them, and like they're getting it done. They're not wobbling. That's a lot of freaking work. So if you can put those bags down and just walk along, it's easier to remain unshakable. So that person carrying all those bags, you bump them, they might just fall over.
Mhm.
So if you've processed the past and and not like just let it go, but like for real have done the work so that it's truly released.
Mhm.
Now you're walking through the airport with no bags in your hands. People bump you, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And you just adjust and you might not even notice. Which
Right.
if you're in the space right now where you're carrying the bag, that sounds like crazy talk.
Mhm.
But it's true, it's real, it's happened for me, and it's happened for my clients.
Right. Does forgiveness have anything to do with that? Do you feel?
Yeah, I think forgiveness is important, and I think it's crucial to process first. Don't just, I forgive them for all these terrible things. That's not a true forgiveness.
No.
There's a lot of different, and I know you know this, but there's lots of different practices for forgiveness, and it's really wonderful. But don't try and kid yourself. You can't trick yourself into being unshakable. This is real work. This is actual authenticity. And if you're like, no, I am still mad about that, even though that happened in the first grade, okay, that's a choice. And you're not ready to make a new choice, that's fine. Just acknowledge that. But don't just be like, I'm just going to let it go, but you're not really letting it go. Don't try to
Right.
do yourself.
No, I believe it's important to let it go. I really do. And that's the hard part.
It sure can be. I don't know what you found, but when I got introduced to Ho'oponopono, I'm like, holy Shazam, this is fantastic. For me anyway, it like really shifts the energy and I get freedom from it, which is what I really wanted in the first place. And then I discovered that the forgiveness arises naturally. I'm like, I like that because it's just easier.
Yes, and I agree with you on that. You know, I've heard people mention that the tools they have learned up to this point aren't really helping them manage the current situation, which is some of what we're really talking about right now, like balancing out our chakras and things like that. So can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So my thoughts on this is there's probably nothing wrong with the tools that we've learned, but it's possible we're trying to apply them in a way that they were never meant to be, or we're trying to overcome and overbalance an inherently imbalanced system. Like if you're working in a very dysfunctional system, like I had a few workplaces that were highly dysfunctional, and I'm just honest and direct, and that was not appreciated, and I got super confused. So I continued to use my honest and directness, which created even more problems, which was really confusing until I had the discernment, oh, that ain't gonna work here. Like in this system, that is not only not valued, that's creating a problem. Oh. So then it was up to me to choose, okay, well, how do I want to deal with this? And since honest and direct is a natural part of who I am, I chose to find somewhere else that would really honor that. So if the tools you've got aren't working, are you trying to overbalance a system that's just not going to work for you? There's a lot of things going on right now, like we talked about before. The problems were already there, but they're just more obvious now. And it's a time to ask yourself, is this one of those situations? Or let's say people are choosing to use meditation to kind of balance and center. It's a great tool. But it's hard to meditate your way out of dysfunction. You're just going to be getting like just slight rebalancing instead of, oh, I'm eliminating my issues. So it's like there's nothing wrong with the tool, but what are you using it for? And are you trying to use it on a system that it isn't going to work for?
Were you having a hard time being direct?
I am naturally fairly direct, but kind. But there are people, especially in a more dysfunctional system, and especially in a dysfunctional patriarchal system, it's not always appreciated. You may have noticed I'm female and female presenting. I happen to be tall, you can't tell. I'm competent. And in a patriarchal system, the people found that very confronting.
Yeah, they were afraid of you.
Yeah, like me being good at this doesn't take anything away from you being good at this. Like this isn't pie. Like if I have a piece, it doesn't mean you can't have it. So in a system like that, I'm like, okay, I'm not a fit.
Well, that's true. I mean, to be definite and be direct is and can be a challenge. And people can be jealous of that, and that's not a good thing. Women can be so jealous of other women because they think that woman looks so good and carries herself so well. And then my thing would be, well, if that person can do all that, you can too. You just have to want to do that. Does that make sense? Is that correct?
Yeah, it does. And so using your example of, oh, I like how she looks and she's carrying herself well, you've now identified a desire that you have. Perhaps you want that for you.
Mhm.
And you don't necessarily want to drag people down, but you want to like, well, what's that mean?
Mhm.
So in this context, part of being unshakable, using this as the example is, what is it about that that's for me?
Mhm.
Like, do I want to carry myself differently? Well, let me try it on. Ooh, this identity that carries myself differently feels more aligned with the real me. That's what let me just do this. I'm just doing this now. And
Mhm.
you discover that shifts too. It's kind of like the work Amy Cuddy did with power poses. Briefly, she did some research that said, if people stand in a power pose, it actually changes how they feel inside. Like the
Mhm.
external changes the internal because the internal changes the external. This is a different approach on that. So that's a great point.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, well, now what I would like to do is really thank you for being here tonight,
Yeah.
Dr. Heather. I've learned quite a bit. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but
Disagree.
that's not the case. Do you know what is really funny is real quick, like I went to the bank and I now have my fingerprint in my phone only because the manager at the bank put it in there for me, helped me to do it. And he said, and they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I thought that was funny because he was like only in his 40s and he was saying that. So, I think life is so very, very interesting. I really do. But I want to tell you, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here on such quick notice. In its own little way, it was quick notice. And I feel what you have to say really makes a lot of sense. So please tell them how that they can contact you. I have it in front of me. I could read it, but I would rather that you tell them.
Thank you. And thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Lots of ways. You can reach out, email drclark@vibrantagain.com. You can find out more at vibrantagain.com or even unshakablebeing.com. And then if you're like, I want to talk to this lady, great. Let's set up a time. Go to realclaritycall.com and claim your appointment.
Okay. And then give us the phone number.
It's 913-608-4325.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And you're on Facebook, right?
Yes, I'm on Facebook. I've got my personal profile. I've got my Facebook profile for the business. And then I'm on Twitter, but not terribly actively.
Yeah, I'm out there also, and I'm on Instagram. So that's a good thing. It's good to do all that kind of advertising. It really is. So, all right, I'm going to call Cece. Cece, where are you?
Here I am. Oh, I think we lost Janet.
Oh,
I think we did. I think we lost Janet. Well, this was a very insightful show. Oh, she's coming back on here. Let's
Here I
see.
am. You keep.
Oh, now you're like
Oh, look
upside
at that. That's even better.
down. Oh my goodness, that's funny. We've never had that before.
Do you know what? There's always a first.
Yeah, well, definitely. That is very weird. But anyhow, so I just want to say to Dr. Heather, thank you so much. That this was I was listening here off the screen and enjoyed it very much. And I learned a lot and about being unshakable. And I think it's a very, very important, a very enlightening show. So certainly I might even go back and listen to it again because I think it was really very good. And again, we want to make sure that all your information is out there. So you guys can contact her at Dr. Clark at vibrantagain.com. Her phone number is 913-608-4328. And of course, her website, which everything will be right there. So just go right to the website at vibrantagain.com and then you can get all of her information. That would be great. So let her know that you guys listened in here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network and on this wonderful show here with Janet Reynolds. It's the Insight with Blue Feather. And those of you that don't know it, Janet is a reverend. She's a psychic and a medium. And you guys can reach her at bluefeather.net. So go to her website, bluefeather.net. You guys want to, like a reading or something like that with all the changes that are happening here in the world today, give her a call at 813-814-1601 and to let her know that you, CC told you to go and get a reading.
Yeah.
Discount, okay?
Do you
I'll
think
take
do you think being sideways I'll get dizzy?
But I feel sorry for you and do that. How much wine have you had?
I think Spirit is playing with us tonight. That's what I think.
I think so. I think things do happen. And I will tell you, I'd like to share is that when Janet comes on the show, strange stuff happens.
It does.
It does.
Like what we're getting now.
It's all fun. It's all fun. Well, I love you, Janet, very much. Thank you so much for all that you do here on WGSN. And Dr. Heather Clark, you've been wonderful and a good sport. And thank you so much. Your information is outstanding. And I think certainly will help people shift and, change their lives, grasp a hold of what's going on in their lives and create a change. So I think it's very informative. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. So I hope you'll stay in contact with us very much. This show will be on Facebook and then on YouTube. So, and then of course, you guys, it'll be on our audio for the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. So we'll see you then. All right, we're going to sign off. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
Heather.
Bye.